First item on the agenda is for me to read out that I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings, and I request you to give prior notice so that any additional measures that may assist can be put into place. Any member of the public or any concern should raise them now. Thank you. So first item is apology for absence. Item 2, disclosure of peculiar interest. Has any member got any peculiar interest they wish to disclose? So do it now, please. No? Thank you. Minutes of our last regular meeting. Can I sign those to a record? No. Seconded, all those in favour? Carried, thank you. We come on to public question time. We do have a question today. I don't believe he's here, but I believe you're going to do it for him, yeah?
Yes,
it's Alison McKittrick. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Would you like to come and put it at the... Yeah, you've had an answer to the original question, so what we need now is a supplementary question, but it must be a question.
Okay. The question refers, the response refers to, the response refers to terms of reference, which give the opportunity for other people to put in detailed business cases. But this is made very difficult by a lack of a full structural survey, which was initially promised by the Strategic Leisure Assessment. Why was a full structural survey not carried out as initially promised in 2014?
Okay. Stuart?
I think possibly, George, you could answer this one, as it was
I don't think they were.
No, I'm just speaking. Right at the very beginning, we did say that we felt that there may be a need to undertake a full structural survey. However, as the work progressed, we had to make a judgment on cost versus benefit with regards to that. And therefore, what we did undertake was a visual inspection, which we felt was sufficient in terms of determining the level of investment that would be needed with regards to a refurbishment or an upgrade of those facilities at the quarry swimming pool. What we've always said, though, is during this 12-month period now that interested parties have got, if they wish to invest in a full structural survey to support their business case, then of course that would be a matter for them to undertake. The Shropshire Council did invest in a visual inspection to come to the conclusions to help inform the outline costs with regards to refurbishment and upgrade.
Okay, thank you. So we move on to item 5, which is a scrutiny item report for the Financial Strategy Task and Finish Group. Okay, well, having read the report, I'm sure you'll agree with me, actually it just reinforces a lot of what the administration are already doing. I welcome the report. I think it really just reiterates what actions that we actually want to take, and I would move the recommendations of the report in A and B. Is that seconded first? Right. Does anybody wish to speak to the paper? No? All those in favour of accepting the recommendations? I thought it was a very good report, actually. Yeah. Item 6 is the financial strategy. You have a very, very full report in front of you there. I think it clearly lays out the methods that we're now utilising to try and get some sort of sustainable budget going on to 18-19. It's mean a change of strategy. We're now using more one-offs and capital receipts. The future is still very uncertain. The future is very uncertain. The government is still unclear about what's going to happen to 100% business rates. We're still unclear about the formula that's going to be used to calculate elderly care, so there's quite a bit in that to uncertainty in the later years, and we don't have the information, so I don't think to make a valid judgment, but we have got the plan. We've signed the 4-year plan, the government, so we know the majority of the grants we're going to get. There are one or two there we know, such as New Homes Bonus and Improved Better Care Fund. We know that we've got them in the 1 year, but there's no guarantee that they will be there in future years. That is a concern to us and something we hope be clarified over the next few weeks by central government. So I would move the recommendations enclosed in the report, recommendation to A, B, C, D. Is that seconded? Right, Roger, you would want to say something?
Yes, please, Chairman. I'm not sure if this is working.
There's somebody sorting it out.
Okay. I'll try and speak up, Chairman. One question, one comment. I see on page 7 there's a reference there about the council's team leisure contract not being able to deliver the savings that's there. Is there any reason why that is? Can any detail be shown as to why that is, please? And then I have another comment in a moment.
George?
Yeah, so this refers to some initial savings that we were applying to the team leisure contract. However, Shropshire Council had already made provision to defer any of the additional savings that had to be made that were red rated, and team leisure were one of those, and therefore we were asked to go back and look at the savings that were being proposed for team leisure and to see whether we could find those savings elsewhere within leisure budgets as opposed to taking it off the team leisure contract, and that's what we've done. So the overall savings have been found, it's just that it hasn't come from the overall team leisure budget.
I think the mugs are working now.
My second comment, Chairman, is on page 9. I look at the short-term proposals to fund the budget for 2017-18 and 2018-19, and I total that up, one-off savings to balance the budget totals £38 million. Disappointed to see that, and I hope you will not be leaving at the end of next April, I suppose, a message in a drawer to say, sorry, there's nothing left, we've spent it all. Because I see that there's more than £8 million taken out of reserves to actually balance the budget, as well as some one-off savings all the way down. And I wouldn't have thought it's good for a council to keep on using one-off reserves to balance a budget, and also at the top of that page to use the word that council will utilise the statutory powers to use capital receipts for revenue purposes. To me, it's a financial strategy, but it is a little bit of a mess.
I'm surprised at the naivety of the question, to be honest, Roger. You're fully aware of the reason, the rationale why we're using this. Tell me, would the Liberal Democrats be then proposing to make all of the red savings of it in the RAG proposals and more on the people of Shropshire? Is that what you're suggesting?
If I can, Chairman, we would have invested money to get revenue income since 2009. We would not have cut back the capital budget. We would have invested to save starting in 2009, and we would have been reaping that income similar to what other authorities are doing. It is now in a desperate case, but there still should be capital to actually invest for the future income for this council, so that residents do not face the cuts they are now having to face.
Roger, I'm really surprised you bring this up now. We've been discussing this for at least 12 months now, and you're quite aware of why we're trying to do. We're trying to mitigate the amount of services that we are no longer able financially to deliver. We're trying to mitigate that by a sensible use and a prudent use of reserves and capital receipts. It makes absolutely sense to do that. We're hoping that there is light at the end of the tunnel when the government's proposals in 2020 come out regarding the fair funding for elderly care. That will be a big advantage if it comes out right, because we don't know that yet. There's several other things happening around that time which may alleviate our problem. We don't think it's right to start closing services down that may not be able to be restarted again if there is a prudent and a careful way of actually managing that. And I've made this quite clear to you in meetings that about the strategy we're actually using. I think it's sensible, it's prudent, and it's the right way forward to protect Shropshire people and retain as many of the services we possibly can. So I think your questions are probably a little political rather than common sense. Thank you, Alan.
Most interesting aspect of this paper is what it doesn't say, but what you actually said in your preamble to it, the uncertainty about the future. In actual fact, Malcolm, the paragraph 6, the long-term financial strategy, says it all, in that you haven't got a clue what is going to happen. It's all a song and a prayer. It's just wishful thinking. A cynic might say that it's all to do with the elections in May, that you are putting off the introduction of the massive cuts that the government is imposing on you until the elections are over in May. Now, as you know, I'm not a cynic, so I'm not going to be saying that. But nevertheless, a lot of people, I'm sure, would say that's the truth of the matter. But it is a difficulty, and one shouldn't allow this to go through so that people outside these hallowed portals think that the problem is solved. The problem is not solved. The use of the one-offs, as Roger's explained, is enormous. Those one-offs cannot be repeated, and the ultimate conclusion is that unless this government changes, and that might be the case in the not too distant future, before 2020, then they're in dire straits, because they've not shown any indication that they are actually going to relax this attack on local government and public services with any significant investment into it. So the message from today is that it's good that there is not going to be the immediate imposition of cuts and the further devastation of our services, but this is merely putting off the deadline for those cuts by a couple of years, using devices that cannot be repeated.
Thank you. By the way, Alan, we shall be coming to your group meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the invite.
Welcome, Malcolm, if you can find where we're holding it.
You are right, Alan. I actually agree with you. You are right. There is a lot of uncertainty about post 20. The whole of the government is uncertain about what's going to happen after 2020. But I have to say, I think that the government is actually becoming to realise that a fair funding for elderly care, especially in rural areas, is something they're having to address. Else, why would they set up the task group, which our Treasurer sits on, to look at a fairer way of funding elderly care? I think that's a necessity they're going to have to do. So, yes, I agree, there is uncertainty there. I think your references to the election in May are just being political, because we'll hardly be talking about a 3-4 year plan and sign the 4-year plan off from the government, and we've just been concerned about the next 6 months. What we're really concerned about is maintaining the best services we possibly can for the people of Shropshire, and I think that the plan we're actually devising is both prudent, it's realistic, and it's a way of continuing to provide as much of the services that we as an administration want to provide to the people of Shropshire. I understand your comments about the election, hence I understand half of the questions I'm getting from the Liberal Democrats and from the Labour member. Okay, anybody else want to speak to this paper? Right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour of the recommendation, please show. Anybody against? That's carried. Thank you very much. We now move item 7, the setting of the council tax base. We've got the recommendation there for this is a reasonable technical paper. The recommendation 212223, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. I think they're self-explanatory, and I'll move them from the chair. Will somebody second that?
Yeah.
Seconded. Does anybody want to speak to that paper? No? All those in favour of the recommendations, please shout. Right, that's carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 8, that's the Treasury strategy. I would first of all like to compliment our in-house team. Given the level of interest rates nationally, I think they've done quite well with our reserves, and I am mindful about some years ago we actually placed our investment of our cash flow with an outside company, which we actually stopped because they weren't generating the same level of receipts as our Treasury Department have. So I'd like in minutes that we do congratulate the Treasury on getting these kind of results with our money. It's somewhat of a technical paper again, recommendation 2122 down to 33. Is that seconded? Yeah. Right, does anybody want to speak to this paper? Roger?
This is a Treasury paper.
Treasury strategy, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I noticed, and join with you, I think we would all congratulate the Treasury team because it is an income that provides all of us with money that we can better use to deliver some of the services. But with the money that's invested, I was trying to work out how much money Shropshire Council has actually got invested. Can you or one of your officers let me know how much has been invested for more than 12 months, please? How much cash is invested?
Well, it's in 4.3 the answer, isn't it? We have 175 million held in investments, but don't forget a lot of that is cash flow, which we actually is allocated to paying the bills.
That's what I was meaning, for invested for more than 12 months, so it isn't needed for cash flow during these next 12 months, so it's going to be carried over for, we do not need for more than 12 months, we will not need any for more than 12 months.
The appendix is page 64 of the pack. That identifies the current investment list, and it identifies
within that all of the principles that we have invested and the time of maturity of each of those. What we do is we continually review the cash flow of the organisation, and based on when we expect the cash to be spent is when there will be cash will be matured. There is always cash available on a daily basis, and there is always the option to draw cash down on a daily basis. Very quickly we have a lot of funding in income accounts. By the same token, we do want to invest some funding that we know we're not going to be spending for a period of time in a longer term investment if that receives a better return over that period.
Okay, Roger, you want to come back?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, but I picked up that investment list on page 64, and a lot of it comes through in October, November, December, hence my question for the 12 months. So how much cash has Shropshire Council got that at the moment it does not anticipate needing this next 12 months?
Well, I thought you just had the answer to that question.
There are no funds that are invested for greater than 12 months.
So all this money, through you, Chairman.
Yeah, it's a different question. What we don't do, because of the risk element, we've had we've had previous investments, or district authorities have previous investments with Icelandic banks, you'll remember. So as part of the risk review of our investments, we don't invest money over 12 months because we don't want to hold that cash up for that period of time. That's not because of the investment return, that's not because of the cash flow, it's because of the risk associated with that, and that's what we build into our treasury strategy.
And cash flow there's always going to be cash balances there for cash flow. It doesn't mean you can spend it. It's there for specific purpose about meeting our budgetary obligations. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please show. Anybody against? Right, that's carried. Thank you. We now move on to item 9. That's a performance report, and it's in the hands of Michael Wood.
Pleased to bring the Quarter 2 performance report to Cabinet. Members will have noted that we're using our performance portal for the first time this quarter, as outlined in 1.4, and again a mild warning to Alan to make sure he presses the right buttons at the right time. The marks a stepping stone to the type of reporting we want to do when the new IT systems are in place, and makes the performance information available to all and in a transparent way. Performance in the second quarter of 2016-17 has shown a number of improvements or stabilisation of performance. The number of looked after children by authorities continue to remain stable at circa 280. Attendance at Theatre 7 continues to improve, getting very close, if not already there, in breaking even. A very positive movement upward, and I hope the press will take note of that. In addition to these improvements, There are confirmed challenges to be faced, and results show that they are being managed by the relevant service areas. The number of people entering residential care is more than profiled and may of course affect budgets in due course. The number of people regrettably killed on our, or seriously injured on our roads in Shropshire has seen an increase, although West Mercia Police have again confirmed that they do not consider this increase to be specifically related to anything that is within the Highway Authority's control. Delayed transfer of care figures have increased again during the second quarter. Chairman, I'll take questions, but the recommendation as set out in paragraph 2 I so move.
Is that seconded? Does anybody want to speak to the paper? No, all in favour of accepting those recommendations, please show. Anybody against? Right, that's carried. We now move on to item 10, which is the Council Customer Feedback Report. Again, Michael Wood.
Show today, I think. Pleased to present the Corporate Customer Feedback Report, Chairman. The Council welcomes and values all feedback from our customers, whether they are comments, compliments or especially complaints. We see them as a good opportunity to learn from what people are telling us and use this to improve services and the experience of people who are using them. The officers have managed to continue to deliver services with tightening resources, and in doing so there has not been a noticeable increase in the number of complaints, and for that, Chairman, they are to be congratulated. As you would expect, the largest services of the Council, which have the largest number of people and organisations which come into contact with them, receive the most complaints, which is consistent with patterns from previous years: adult social care, children's services, highways and street stream and planning, waste recycling. The recommendations in the report focus on continuing to strengthen the handling of all our customer feedback. A key development that will enable this, improving the IT systems to enable greater efficiencies and effectiveness in the way the Council records, handles and reports customer feedback. It is to be hoped, Chairman, that somewhere down the line, probably 2 years or more now, or hopefully less as the way things go, that both my previous report and this report will benefit dramatically from the IT system when it comes into use. I move the recommendations in 2A and 2B.
Is that seconded? Okay, anybody want to speak to that? Karen?
It's just a question, please, if I may ask the portfolio holder. And it was around 6.2, I was interested to read how complaints are being managed and processed. And it was just that final paragraph around the 31, progressing beyond the stage. Presumably those went to the Ombudsman. And I'd just be interested to know how those have been assessed and resolved.
It just so happens, by coincidence, purely by coincidence, I didn't know that question was coming, but of the 30 complaints that went to the Ombudsman, we actually were upheld at 15 of those. That's a 50% ratio. Adult social care, as referred to in the report, received those of the most, and I think that may be, Leader, the fact that adult social care referrals are now being supported by legal officers on behalf of the individuals. And I think again it's to be complimented that our officers themselves are actually managing to fend off 7 out of those 12. Planning is the next one, of course, but we're all very familiar with that aspect of our work. 10 investigated, and we won 5 and lost 5. Environmental services 4 and 2. Education, and again a very emotive subject. Education and children 3. We were upheld in 2 and lost 1. Housing 1 and we won 1. Total of 30, 15 all. I suppose it's a draw, but it's still not very satisfactory that we receive them, Chairman, and we'll continue to look hard at them.
Thank you.
That's a tremendous off-the-cuff answer to the question.
Well, the officer
Can I say to you,
Appendix 1 for those
the officer takes his duties very seriously.
can I say to you, Alan, it was because when I saw the report, I thought, you know, Alan Mosley or Roger Hill are going to ask me that question, and so immediately it wasn't available, and the officer made it available to me late last evening.
Michael, I don't think we should give all our secrets away. Okay, then, anybody want to speak to that?
Could all the members have a copy of that?
I'm sure we can arrange
Yeah.
that. I'm
You have
we
to
can.
put around that for you. Okay, so
It's a very simple document. Very
the
simple.
recommendations laid out in 2A and B have been moved and seconded. All those in favour of accepting those recommendations? Is anybody against? Right, that's carried. Thank you. We now move on to item 11, the Market Drayton Youth Centre Community Asset Transfer. Michael Wood again.
Members will have read this with interest, of course, and I'm going to do no more than move the recommendations, but ask David Minnie, my fellow portfolio holder, if he would just like to say a few words, because it affects his area directly.
Okay, is that seconded?
Well, yes, which one is it? Doesn't matter, I've got a loud voice. I'll happily second the proposal, Chair. This has been in the pipeline for probably 2 years, I think, since this building first became available under this programme. Initially, the Town Council were going to pick it up and wanted to run the services from there, but very quickly realised that they did not have the expertise necessary. So the Town Council have been looking for others and have been working closely with the applicants, and we've now got a consortium of people locally who can acquire this and they can run it and actually provide a better service than is currently being provided. So I'm very happy to second the proposal. Thank you.
Anybody want to speak to this? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour of recommendation 2 to 1, please show. Anybody against? It's carried. Item 12, the opening hours across customer service points. Michael Wood.
A bit longer introduction, if I may, Chairman, and seek your indulgence. This report today follows an earlier Cabinet report in July, which sought permission to consult over the revised opening times of our 6 main customer service points located in Shrewsbury, Oswald Street, Market Drayton, Whitchurch, Bridge North and Ludlow. The customer services provides Shropshire citizens with access to over 50 council services via a number of different contact channels. For some time now, customer services have been encouraging customers to use a more convenient and more cost-effective channel via which to do business with us. This channel shifting, excuse the pun, the channel shifting helps us to reduce our costlier channels of contact. Over the past 5 years, we have seen a significant reduction in numbers of customers coming in to use and face our customer services, which is the most expensive way for any business to engage with its customers. Over the same period, our opening hours and staff resources invested in face-to-face contact has remained relatively unchanged, which is why this review has now come about. Customer Services is continuing its work to find new and innovative ways for our citizens to do business with us. New and simplified online solutions are being developed, but we recognise that this will not suit everyone, so work is being done around providing a simple IT and telephone-based contact that will reduce our face-to-face costs further whilst still being user-friendly, enough to cater for a broad range of customers. As recommended by the previous Cabinet report, a period of consultation was carried out regarding revised opening at these main offices, during which views were sought from the public, town councils, from services that deliver alongside us, and from voluntary and community sector partners. Today's paper therefore puts the final recommendations to Cabinet for revised opening hours across these sites. We have looked at the comments made by our customers, we have looked at the busiest days and times for each site and the needs and attendance of partner services and organisations with whom we work. All of these findings are summarised in Appendix 2 of the report and reflect within the Equalities Impacts Assessments also attached. Therefore, the revised opening times now recommended reflect to the extent practical if we are to deliver services efficiently and within budget, the needs and wishes of all those who replied. I have to add to that, Chairman, I trust all members are much in agreement. I was very disappointed with the number of people who sought not to communicate with us on such an important matter. I move the recommendations as set out in Para 2. I so move.
I second it.
Yes, I'll say.
Right, does anybody want to speak to this? No?
Yes.
No? Oh, sorry. Lee?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I hope that the council through this continues to make the commitment to face-to-face services, because certainly from our point of view in adult social care, our Let's Talk Local sessions, where we're out in communities providing upfront preventative advice to people on a face-to-face basis, we feel is extremely important to get upstream of any issues that people may subsequently develop and result in greater cost to the council. So having an opportunity for those people who aren't necessarily able to access a website and for them to go in and to speak to someone, I think is absolutely vital. I have a phrase which I often use, which is the difference between the needy and the nerdy. I'm very clear that as we continue to invest in IT and support the nerdy amongst us who are very happy to access electronically, I think we need not to lose sight of those needier in our communities that we need to continue to support. So thank you.
Thank you. Right, anybody else?
Taken on board, Chairman, in actual fact, it's part of what I said when we were working on a simple IT and telephone-based contact, but not to the exclusion of people who need to see us face to face.
Okay, so Roger, you?
No, it's to say that I raised queries originally, and I'm grateful for the conversation that was had at a scrutiny committee when it was brought up then and the reassurance that was given. But I echo Lee's comments, and the reassurance I gained then has enabled me not to raise many queries today. So yes, I think we do need to maintain that face-to-face communication, but had that assurances at a scrutiny committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please shout. Is anybody against that? Right, that is carried. Thank you. We now move on to item 13, the meal braised fish and puck. Michael Boyd.
This is basically what it says on the tin. We are seeking permission of Cabinet to go out to consultation and hope that we get a very considerable number of consultees in return. I'm just advised that we do not anyone to jump to any conclusions about where we are on this, and we'll await with interest the result of the consultation.
Yes,
So move.
is that seconded? Yes, seconded. Okay, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. I know this consultation, I know it's being extended because of the holiday period over Christmas, but one of my problems is that this consultation is being carried on whilst the mess is around Mealbrace roundabout, and there may not be many people using that site because of the difficulties there is around that roundabout at this moment in time. But I would hope, an anticipation of the consultation, but I would say that this green space is needed, and I hope it retains in local authority ownership and use.
Thank you. Well, we mustn't draw any conclusions. Going to have consultation.
Of course, Roger, you have every opportunity to take part in the consultation. I'm sure we'll consider rabbits when we get round to it.
Thank you for that. Through you, Chairman. Thank you for that comment. I think the green space is important for all sorts of animals, big, small, and the two-legged type.
I'm going to ask Alan first, then you can answer anything that comes up. Alan?
I'm not going to comment on the actual meal-braised pitch and putt, but just to say that I hope you're aware of in Shrewsbury a significant degree of cynicism and suspicion about the use of consultation in the recreational areas. We've just had a consultation on the quarry or siting of the swimming baths, at which 68% of the 2,000 respondents said they didn't wish the baths to move, but all indications and the decision that's been taken here is to move it, and to move it into a location that only 16%, 68% don't move it, 16% said move it to the sports village. So the idea that people's participation in a consultation on these sort of matters has any significance is far from people's minds at the moment. They will be very cynical about the meaning of consultation in this regard.
Well, I can assure you not to be cynical. If we undertake consultation, we do that to listen to people's views, and we take those views into account when we come to a final decision. Else why would we go to consultation in the first place? I'm going to ask Simon to cover the roundabout.
Thank you. Yeah, no. No, I was just going to comment on that. The period of the consultation over the Christmas period. I mean, there will be no roadworks on the Meal Island anyway, because there's an embargo over the Christmas period, and those roadworks anyway. I fail to see how you can say that they impact on the usage of the pitch and putt. So it's just that comment.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to hope that Alan will take part in the consultation. I'm sure you could put it on the agenda for your next group meeting.
Yes. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favour of the recommendation, please show. Is anybody against? Right, it's carried. Thank you for your attendance.